Digital 410 Productions proudly presents the Waterman and D-Train Show.
Digitized live from the ACT Computer Studios in Cape Coral, Florida, it's the Waterman and D-Train Show.
What's up, OG5? We're coming back to you from the nation of quarantine, along with the rest of everybody else. Gordon, how's things going in Las Vegas, Nevada?
God, it's hard to say. I'm still having a hard time wrapping my mind around everything right now. You know, it's
Isn't this how every zombie movie starts? Every post-apocalyptic movie starts, where it's the spread of a global pandemic due to a virus. Isn't this how, World War Z started?
Very close. Very similar. God, I don't know what to say. I wanted to take a drive down the Strip.
Why didn't you?
Because the Strip is filled with cars of people taking a drive down the Strip to see the Strip empty. So it almost defeats the purpose to try and get film of the Strip completely empty when it's lined up with cars. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
So that idea is shot. I'm sure it's the same you all got. Our store shelves are completely empty. Fortunately, we have most everything we need to get us the next couple few weeks. God, yeah, it's so weird. I go to work and I see people lined up at the gun store I get my ammo from before they even open.
Yeah, our gun store was like that too. It got a little crazy. I was driving by the other day and it was 15 or 20 minutes before they opened, and there was like 4 or 5 cars out front. And so I said to myself, well, I could use a little more ammo. I could use some 9 and some 40. So I stopped in and I parked it. And another lady pulled up. She said, "What are you here to buy?" I said, "Ammo." And yeah, me too. And we got in there, and there were some people trying to do some last minute firearm shopping. They're trying to get their shotguns, anything to really get their hands on. Now, obviously, A shotgun is probably one, if you're a first-time gun owner, probably the safest as far as, compared to a pistol. But 2, you don't have to have a concealed carry permit or a waiting period for a shotgun, I believe. I could be wrong on that. I think, aren't the waiting periods strictly for handguns? It's been so long since I've had to wait because I've had my concealed carry for so long. I'm not sure what the waiting period is.
Well, I can't really answer that question because I've never had to wait in Nevada.
Yeah.
So, but what I am hearing is those who don't have their concealed carry permits already, they go to purchase a firearm, and instead of it just being turned around in 20 minutes, they're told to wait 10 to 15 days.
Yeah, and as for those of you tuning in right now, Dave is not here. Dave is still out. He's, I'm trying to get him to focus on his family and his health and all that, plus with the quarantining and not being able to get out and about. But he's out trying to take care of what he needs to take care of and focus on that. And hopefully he'll be back here soon. But right now, he's just got so much with the health and his brother, his health, his mom's health, everybody's health. Plus, let's be honest. We are in a pandemic, especially for those who are compromised with the immune system. I'm going to assume when you have cancer, your immune system's compromised, especially if you're on any sort of chemo treatment. And so he really shouldn't be out at all. I mean, especially if he doesn't live with that particular brother, but he does still live with his mom. I was going to say that mom, but his mom as well. And so by him going out, he runs a potential risk of bringing that stuff back home for the rest of the family.
Yeah, and everybody does. And, at first, I was thinking about it, and even I was skeptical with this whole, God, I'm so sick of even hearing about it right now, but this whole coronavirus is like, the media's hyping it up. The media's hyping it up. But as we look back through the past, that's always happened, right?
Well, no one can blame you for being skeptical because the media has hyped up and, over embellished everything so that they can bring in ratings. And we often talk about it down here. Anytime there's a named storm out in the Atlantic, the local weather guy and the weather, the Weather Channel itself, that's prime time viewing for them. So anytime there's even anything remotely close to a hurricane, and particularly if it has a name in it, they just build it up. So one, they can build their portfolio to try to move to a bigger market, or if you're the Weather Channel to get more views to sell more advertising. And so you can't really blame people or suspect people or even have negative thoughts about people, because I'm guilty. When this thing first started, I'm like, okay, here we go. And I really didn't take it super serious when it first came out, if you go back and watch some of my early YouTube videos. But you can't really blame us, because the media has misled us for so long, and it's insane.
What is the first story, or one of the stories you remember the most from your very young childhood?
Like,
we
going back to like Horton Hear the Who's days, or are we more curious George was a monkey?
It's a life lesson early story. I think it was about the boy who cried wolf, right?
Oh, absolutely. And it's funny, because I've been trying to get Nugget to read that story, because she's at the age where she thinks a simple "I'm sorry" erases everything. And when you say it 30 times a day, it just loses its meaning. And, you can do or say what you want to people, and the more you say "I'm sorry," the more that particular word loses its meaning. And much like the boy who cried wolf, after a while, people stop listening to you.
Yeah. Are you sorry? Are you
No.
really? I mean, that's cute, but are you? Or, are you, media outlet, really vested in this being a real deal thing? Are you just, sensationalizing like everything else out there? So, and I get it. I don't want to ever talk about the guy, but even our president kind of fought it too, because I'm sure he was used to, everything being with an accent mark and over exaggerated. And he's a bit of a used car salesman himself. So,
well, the word on the street is one Tucker Carlson went down to Mar-a-Lago and had a sit down with the president and told him it was time for him to start taking this shit a little more seriously.
Did he listen?
Yes, and I guess that's right around the time he started taking this shit a little more seriously. I was watching Fox News today, and even they went back and was playing some early footage of him saying, it wasn't a big deal. The Democrats are hyping this up for political purposes. And of course, the secretary of press is like, well, he did put in a travel ban and this, that, and the other thing. But yeah, he did in fact put in a travel ban and all that. But when he went on the news, much like all of us, he played it down a little bit, which perhaps wasn't a bad thing. But compared to the way he's handling it now, the craziest thing to come out of all this is, one, the fact that you have Democratic-based governors giving him props and him giving them props. Everybody's like kind of putting their, well, not everybody, but a lot of them are putting their politics aside. The sad thing is, man, old tricks, old hat. They're trying to get this damn spending bill out there to start issuing checks to people to help save businesses, help save the economy. And old dogs up to old tricks, man. And for those you out there who are frustrated and you're wanting to know what's taking so long, it's because these fucking assholes are still trying to slide pork in there. Hey, now's the time. Let's get these bills that we've been trying to get pushed through. Let's add it to this. Why can't we just straight up come up with a bill and say, okay, here's what we're going to do. Page 1, checks for unemployment. Page 2, help, blah, 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 blah. And that's it. Can we put out a 4-page fucking bill? Do we need to start putting in, let's go ahead and finance the emotions of the arts in Grass Lakes, Iowa, and let's go ahead and push through this law and that law that have nothing to do with what we're going through right now. And that's why it takes so long. It's not the
time for it.
No, it's not. And the Republicans are guilty too. So the Republicans are trying to sneak in their shit, and the Democrats are like, nope, we ain't voting for that. And then the Democrats come out with their version with their shit pushed into it, and the Republicans are like, no, we're not voting for that. Why can't we just put it through?
What's interesting is one of the Republican Senate leader who's kind of responsible for the extra pork has tested positive for coronavirus. That would be Rand Paul.
Yeah, and from what I understand, you can't vote. There's no absentee voting. And it sounds like a lot of the Republicans are the ones being quarantined right now. And so if we're not careful, it looks like, well, I say we when I'm a registered non-affiliate, but the Republicans, if they're not careful, the other side might push through some of these bills that they didn't want because they don't have enough people there to vote against it.
Yeah, there's definitely some anti-2A stuff sitting around right now too, that we got to be careful of, that they're using this unfortunate situation, the event, I guess is what some people is calling it, to push through their stuff. And to me, all that stuff's got to set by the side.
It's just fucking.
You got to have a full Congress back before you go anything outside of what's going on right now.
Speaking of what's going on right now, we want to know what's going on right now in your neck of the woods. We have people tuned in all over the place, and a lot of you listen all over the place. And even if you're listening to this tomorrow and you're not joining us live, you can still give us a call and drop us a voicemail. We want to know what's going on in your part of the world. Give us a call at 239-232-4419 or email us at info@d-410.com. Tell us what it's like in your neck of the woods. If there's anything you want us to get out there for you. Obviously, it's a little hard because we only do this once a week, but I'll be quite honest with you. If the lockdowns get a little more stringent and we are locked down, we may come to you multiple times a week. As of right now here in Florida, it's kind of at your discretion. They haven't quite pulled out the essential services card yet. They have closed down the beaches. They have told the bars that they can't. I think the bars are done now. Restaurants have to operate at 50% capacity. Their tables have to be 6 feet apart and all that. But yeah, we want to hear what's going on from you guys. Give us a call at 239-634-4332. Have you been to the stores lately in your neck of the woods, Gordon?
I have not. I've sent my wife out.
That's mighty white of you.
Work. Well,
hey, woman, you go to the store. I can't be bothered.
So, and this order went through Friday that the governor actually made an order that local authorities will be able to make sure that non-essential businesses are shut down. All week last week, it's been a debate when he requested them to be shut down. What is considered a non-essential business?
Well, in Vegas, that's a good
being
question.
That I work in the construction industry, also electrical, that kind of ended up falling into essential business, and I'm scratching my head and I'm wondering. And what is nice is they've actually
wait a minute, hold on, time out.
County.
What are you wondering about? Why does that not make sense to you? Who do you think? Who do you think is going to build quickly pop-up hotels with? Well, I mean not hotels, hospitals. Well, obviously the National Guard will build up the pop-up ones, but if they actually start trying to put more infrastructure in place, more solid ones, then yes, we're going to need construction and all the trades out there.
Well, it's, at first you look at it on the surface. Now, especially for hospitals, that's what I do. That's my wheelhouse is the hospital side, but it's just, it seemed like it was a little politically driven because the a stadium that's going on and the Las Vegas Convention Center and some other huge projects. But I just because everything you got all this information coming at you from all this different directions, and it really took until this weekend to kind of sit down and think about it and then see actually the county's response and their list. And they do have construction under infrastructure. Makes sense. Now I get it. I just for some reason myself wasn't connecting the dots. And then obviously electrical companies definitely need to be up and running. But fortunately, it's scary. I don't know how this is going to affect the Strip long term and the Valley long term. Right now, it is a ghost town down there. I imagine that these properties are having a hell of a time keeping the homeless out.
It's free reign, I'm sure.
I got some friends, I got some family members who are security guard on property, and they typically, on a normal day, have a hard time keeping homeless out of like big convention areas where they can hide back behind the collapsible walls and sleep.
Yeah, no, but now that no one's supposed to be in there and you have the security camera infrastructure that you guys have in Vegas, you would think technically and hypothetically it'd be easier to keep them out because no one's supposed to be in there, and so you can track movement in general easier.
One would, but I'm thinking they're going to ramp it up a little, probably trying to get some sustenance. Definitely seeing less homeless flying the sign on the corner.
Sure. And
which is interesting. I mean, you think about it, and it's like, well, nobody has anything to give. Although I did see one today, and somebody did give that person money. So, congratulations.
Well, Florida's taking it serious now. When we kick the snowbirds out, everybody's on the news like, look, the crazy Florida people. They're down at the beaches on spring. No, that ain't us. That's your kids from up north. Residents, we don't go to the beach this time of year.
College kids.
Yeah, we don't go to the beach this time of year. That's your kids coming down from up north, or your kids who live down here during the school year. But residents, we don't even go near the beaches at this time of year. We know better. We got better things to do, pandemic or otherwise. And so, yep, things are cracking down here. My mom wants to remind everyone to remember to wear gloves when pumping gas at the gas pumps. What is the shelf life of the coronavirus on an inanimate object, Gordon? Do you know?
It could be hours to days, depending on the deal. I think it can on stainless and some plastics. It can run up to 3-4 days. I don't want to put out any bad information. Just going from memory, but longer than you think. And I was thinking that today. I did the top off the cross track. While gas is cheap, and I'm sure it will remain available. But while it's cheap, and I was the one who wasn't wearing gloves, so I felt kind of like a jerk. But I did at least have my sanitizer in my car for after the fact.
Well, I got
So,
to thinking about it last week, and around Thursday, I got up and went to the Autopots, like I'm from Boston. We're at the Autopots. It's the self-pack. No, I went to the auto parts store and bought some black latex gloves because, after all, when you wear latex gloves, you want to look cool and buy black ones and not blue ones or pink ones. Actually, that's all they have are black ones. But because I'm a computer guy, what do I do all day? I'm handling other people's keyboards and mice.
They get sneezed on, coughed on, spat on. Oh, dude, I'm sorry.
Now, you know who else has it worse? The mechanics out there. Oh, my buddy James, he's a mechanic. You guys seen him on my YouTube channel. On a normal day, it's bad. We all know that person whose car looks like a roaming trash heap.
Yeah, we do.
It's insane. They often say you can judge a person's living habits by the quality of their car. We'll compound that with the potential of sneezing and cold and funk. He actually told me last week he had one car that was so disgusting that he wouldn't even get in to pull it into the garage. He made someone else do it.
I would almost turn that person away. I said, dude, you got to clean this shit up and then come back.
Who are these people, man? I mean, we've all seen it. Like, they literally, you look like you're pulling into a grocery store and their car is literally completely full of trash with the exception of the little space for the driver's seat. They have like no friends, no family. And the car is literally like they're driving around in a single cockpit, freaking early 1950s F1 racer. It's insane. It's like they have no cockpit. It's like, do you think that's going to help you like during a crash? No, your shit's going to crush in around you and you're going to suffocate and die.
It's like the car equivalent of a goat trail in a hoarder's house. That's
insane.
it. Let me wedge myself in here. Now everything's falling on me.
Not to mention smell.
Get that trash back. God, stay back.
You know, that's part of the reason why I explain to people, the reason I don't wear a shirt and tie, you know, because people are like, well, a lot of IT people wear shirt and tie. Well, sure, the ones who's sitting at a computer all day working in a corporate office. I'm crawling on the floors of veterinarian clinics underneath desks. I'm at people's homes getting down underneath their computer desk to disconnect their computers. If I wore a white shirt and a tie, it would be gray by the end of the day. I spend so much time crawling around on people's floors, not to mention their attics and other areas that are completely disgusting.
Show up at an office in a nice shirt and tie, but it looks like you're now a mechanic that's been rummaging around for days in an engine bay.
Well, that's why I wear Dickie shirts. Speaking of mechanics and all that, the bright side to this whole fiasco that we're all going through is I pray that it's not just lip service. I pray that once this thing is behind us, obviously it's never going to go away. It's an illness, and just like the flu and all the other ones out there, some of them we find cures for, some of them we find vaccinations for, some of them we just find a way to live with them through treatment. Hopefully this one goes, you know, the way of the mad cow disease and the chicken thing where, you know, it doesn't affect everybody. But I hope it's just not lip service. The people who are finally talking about, maybe we should start manufacturing in our own country again.
Oh, that's going to be a huge issue. Obviously, you could tell our president is not currently focused on his re-election, thank God, because he would probably be touting that left and right.
But that's what we need. We need somebody who's not focusing on the re-election. And I've often said I think we need almost a year hiatus between someone's last term and their re-election, because most of these cats, they spend like the last 2 years of their term working on the re-election for the next term, which basically is us paying someone for 2 years worth of work when they're not doing anything.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. They get elected, and then their next order of business is to get reelected.
And I saw an interesting thing on TV tonight. They're like, well, you know, unlike World War II, when we quickly switched the GM plants to build tanks and guns, and, you know, Westinghouse started making helmets, and, you know, the fine people at the Republic Stamping and Ameling Company and Canton, Ohio started making canteens. We can't just retool our stuff overnight to start making these respirators, because it has to be done in a semi-sanitary assembly line. There's just so much health requirements that go into the environment in which these things are manufactured. It's not something we can just tool and start pumping out. It almost take weeks, if not months, to get a non-existing manufacturing line to start pumping these things out, because what is required for safety and sanitation of these things.
And that was one of the things I was thinking about and talking with some other people about is, you know, you see a lot of people getting upset with our president about, you know, the things he said
needs to tone that down. This stuff's going to be readily available. But what people don't understand is you can't flip that switch. It is not instant. It takes time. Unfortunately, most of this material does come from out of country. So why aren't testing kits available? Well, it's new and there's just not enough built. There's not enough material. It is a supply chain situation. It's a logistics situation. Take a breath. You can't blame one person. Well, why don't we got all these testing kits? Sorry, you can't just and have it.
Well, two things. One, as I kind of hinted before, there are things that we don't have cures for that have been around for hundreds of years. So
the common cold.
Exactly. We have ways to help combat it and to fight it. But there's no guarantee that we're going to come up with a quote unquote cure. The same in polio. Hopefully we can find things to help prevent it, to curb it, to tamp it down, to make it where it's more like a common cold, where unfortunately people do die each year from the common cold, but it's not at a pandemic level. I saw a interesting video on Netflix. By the way, March Madness is gone. This is your Netflix queue busting time. How many movies do you currently have sitting in your Netflix queue, Gordon? Have you even thought about that?
Most of them, God, I got a ton, and a lot of them I'm like, do I even want to get to? But they're actually, I did think this much about it. It's like, looks like I may have some time to watch it.
Well,
so, of course, I'm adding more. Now that I'm adding more, I'm like,
exactly. If any of you guys are like me, I have found that when I go to turn on Netflix, I spend like 45 minutes surfing and adding things to my queue, and then I turn it off and watch TV. I have more shit in my queue from the last 3 years.
I don't do that bad.
Than I've watched. I finally broke down and watched Highwaymen last night.
How'd you like that?
That was pretty good. It was kind of nice to see a Bonnie and Clyde movie where they didn't make Bonnie and Clyde the hero because they weren't. They're assholes. Have you seen it at all?
Yeah, kind of like I have not. It's actually in my queue.
Exactly. It's in everybody's queue. And if you guys know anything about me, I prefer, and I think we may even talked about this or on my other pod, I don't know. It may have been on this week's What's the Scuttlebutt, which is up right now, WTSPWorldWar2.com. But somewhere along the lines the last few weeks, I was talking to somebody out there that me personally, when it comes to movies, I enjoy a biographical or even semi-biographical or inspired by true events type movies, because I like to, when I'm watching, I'm like, wow, this shit's so crazy. It's insane that people live through this. But this is actually about the two Texas Rangers, which, by the way, did you know that the Texas Rangers were outlawed for a while?
I did not know that. Mm-mm.
This was the case that afterwards got them to reinstate the Texas Rangers, because there was a feeling that the Texas Rangers were kind of like the Pinkertons. They really didn't answer to anybody. Well, obviously the Pinkertons answered to the Pinkerton Company, which was a corporation. But there were some people out there in Senate and Congress who felt at the time, late 1800s, early 1900s, that the Rangers were kind of like their own little group. They answered to nobody, so the government shut them down. And it was actually after Bonnie and Clyde had killed so many lawmen that there was an assistant to, I think, the governor of Texas at the time, who encouraged her to bring back these two well-known ex-Texas Rangers, and they were like in their 70s at the time, or late 60s. Anyhow, it's got Woody Harrelson in it, and I was going to say Kevin Bacon. Wow. Dances with Wolves. Who the fuck am I thinking? Kevin Costner.
Yes, Kevin Costner.
And the movie is from the viewpoint of them. As a matter of fact, the actors who play Bonnie and Clyde probably only have 3.5 minutes of screen time through the whole movie.
Oh, really?
So it's more about how the media propped them up and turned them into the quote-unquote Robin Hoods of their time. But as they say in the movie, Robin Hood stole from the rich and gave to the poor. They didn't go around killing innocent people. And but yeah, it's a great flick. And so I finally got that. One's been sitting in my queue forever and a day. Sorry, I got people texting me here. But I saw a preview that was pretty good. Sorry, people sending me screenshots and instructing me. There is a movie called The Pedestal. Are you familiar with this? It's like a horror movie. It's borderlining on the stage of like a Hostel or a Saw.
Okay.
And what it is...
Is it about like tourist people who get stuck somewhere, tour groups, or I guess what's the basic premise?
The basic premise is that hold on, it's right here. Sorry. In the future, prisoners are housed in a vertical cell, which inmates in the upper cells are fed while those and below them starve. But what it
so
is,
shit really runs downhill there, huh?
think of it like this. Think of it like living in being housed in the Washington Monument.
Okay.
And having a hole through each floor. So each floor is 12 feet apart. And there's a hole in the middle that brings down a pedestal that has food served on it, right?
Okay.
And how it works is they load this thing up with a shit ton of food. And the first floor they have a certain amount of time. They can gorge themselves, eat as much as they want. And it goes down to the next floor. And those people eat and eat and eat. And it goes down the next floor. So by the time it gets to the end of the prison, there's like nothing left on it. There's like shit on it. There's like just jacked up food. People are starving to death, right?
They're just licking the pedestal at that point.
Yeah, and they said in the thing, like they said in the previews, you only eat what the people above you didn't want. Make sense?
Absolutely.
And so the crazy part is, there's a comment in there where the woman says, one of the inmates says, sorry, I had to fix something. One of the woman says, the crazy thing is, if people only took what they needed, it would feed us all.
Well, that's true. Just look at the grocery stores now.
Exactly. And that's what I was getting to. Sorry, I was distracted. I had to take care of something. And that's the whole thing is, if people only took what they needed, if they only took the toilet paper that they used on a regular week, if they only did all that stuff, then then everybody would eat. But what happens in this movie is the people on the top, I mean, you're talking ice cream and cakes. They're just eating as much and storing it, and it goes down and down. So by the time it gets to the last floor, those people are stuck with complete and other nonsense.
Yeah, and actually the Nevada Retail Association had come out this weekend and said, look, guys, if you have plenty of food, you need to stay at home. Let the stores replenish. Let those who have not been able to store up get their share. I know limits are going on around here. Everything else. Actually, I was talking to Dad this morning about, are they allowing, special time frames for older people, senior citizens in Florida to go shopping? And then I stopped myself. I said, wait a second, that's 50% of your population.
The answer is yes.
So well.
And let's give credit where credit is due. And by the way, that phone number is 239-232-4419. I actually had a message that I posted the wrong phone number there, and the person whose phone number that belonged to sent me a message like, what the fuck are you doing, dude? So that's actually what I was doing.
Yeah, I was going to repeat that phone number too. So
no, I just posted the real phone number, 239-232-4419. I accidentally posted a phone number of the last person I spoke to on our show. But as you said last week, Dollar General kind of started that. They said, hey, we're going to allow the seniors first access. Mm-hmm. So when we stock up in the night and they come in the morning from 7 to 8 a.m. Well, long story short, Publix is doing that down here now.
Good.
I don't think they'll kick you away from the door, but I think they're kind of hoping we all function on a gentleman's agreement. Or maybe they do have bouncers at the door. Maybe I should show up in the morning.
Or they could have two lines. They could have, Katina went to Costco and they had two lines. They had a senior citizens line and a regular schmo line, and kind of treat it like VIP. As the seniors walked up, they got let in, and you got held back for a little bit. So it's good. I mean, we need to take care of our seniors, especially in these times.
It's just, this whole thing is just crazy. What makes it even crazier is the fact that it's, like they say, it's the invisible enemy. And so, it doesn't feel like there's anything going on outside. That's why you have, you got the governor in New York complaining to the mayor in New York, hey, you got to get these people out of Central Park.
Yeah, and what are you going to do with the homeless? I mean, that's the thing. Well, I know they're saying that they're putting, like in California and LA, they're trying to put them into hotels, and I'm thinking, oh, poor hotel owners.
Oh, yeah.
There's not going to be anything left in these rooms. They're going to be destroyed.
And to give Cuomo the benefit of the doubt, he actually provided some solutions. He said, everybody, you guys have, we've declared statewide that it's, what the hell is the word I'm looking for? Essential businesses only should be open, right?
Correct.
And we're hoping everybody self-quarantines, but we understand people got to get out. We need you to, go. He's saying, one, open up the streets. Let them walk in the streets. If you got to go run, instead of running in Central Park, because everybody's going to Central Park and it's super packed. And it's not, you're not doing your social distancing. He's like, run in the street, and he started mentioning like by the way, we just opened up this park. It's 400 acres. No one's going there. How about you go to that park, get some distance? And there's another park here that's 300 acres. And so he's actually providing solutions. Instead of everybody going to Central Park, go out to some of these other parks, or New York City needs to open up the streets and let people, just mingle in the streets. And that way they can get outside, get some fresh air, and get that distance that we're requiring of 6 feet without all cramming themselves into Central Park, because it's just not fixing anything.
Have you noticed more people out and about? I know I have, and I'm thinking, well, these probably are the people who are typically inside the gym. But definitely seeing more activity out there.
Yeah, and I'm kind of excited for that. To answer your question, yes and no. I'm seeing less foot traffic from people who use foot traffic as a mode of transportation. But I am seeing more people that are older and people who would be considered a little on the unhealthier side of life actually out there working out, like not working out, but walking and trying to jog, which is fantastic. If there's another silver lining that comes from this, at least maybe for the next 4 or 5 months, people will start taking a little more thought and concern about their health and their immune system. Because the best way to combat something like this is to be as healthy as possibly you can. And if your body's sitting there fighting off type 2 diabetes or any other sort of illness that comes from, a sedimentary lifestyle. I know you said rocks, Don. Go ahead, Gordon. You bust my... What
sedentary?
What phrase would you use? What phrase would you use for people who don't
sedentary?
Move? Okay, for those with sedentary lifestyles, a lot of illnesses come on with that. And so...
Is that igneous?
I don't...
Is that metamorphic?
I'm just a hillbilly computer guy from the swamps of Florida. We come from
the same family, dude, so that doesn't work with me.
Yeah, but you got like at least 2 years of college education. I got a learning disability and a high school diploma. I got a learning disability and a high school diploma. You at least went to radio school and some college stuff.
Yeah, kind of. Come on, man. It was CCSD.
You got yourself some book learning.
Yeah, I read a lot of books too. But so do you.
Yeah, but all mine's World War II based stuff.
Oh, yeah.
That's why I'm smart in one category, and the rest of it, forget about it.
It's all in one bucket, man.
Yeah, my bucket's got a hole in it. I got one finger in it.
I do have a question for you.
Uh-huh.
So, and I think this is smart. I may be overreacting a little just looking at the state that the economy's headed towards, i.e. the toilet. It's already there. Started kind of just preparing and shutting down some non-essential bills. Like today, I drained the old hot tub, shut her down. Looking at stuff that we pay on normally that we don't really need, and we're probably going to shut her down. Have you, and batten down the hatches on the home, so to speak. Have you started looking in that direction?
I was ahead of the curve on this. I'm going to say something very embarrassing, but we're honest here. And, I'm going to say this first and foremost. This episode of the Waterman and D-Train show is brought to you by our friends at Act Computers. Through this hard time, small businesses need your help. And so while you're at home and you're working from home and you finally realize you've been neglecting your computers because you're at work and you don't care when your kids complain that things are slow and you need some help, give Act Computers a call at 239-283-1120 and we can practice social distancing of the greatest order. I can remote into your computer across the world. So go to act-capecoral.com. We'll tell you where to click, and then we'll log in your computer. We'll help you fix all those annoying pop-ups, slowness, email problems, printer problems, whatever. As long as your internet works, they can help you. But more importantly, right now, think about this. Everybody's working at home, from home, right? That's the way of the world. Your kids are working from home. If you're a small business owner or you are now working from home and you're not using like a LogMeIn, a Team Viewer, or Go to My PC, if your work has still got you using a remote desktop, which is built into all Windows as a way to save money, that is the least secure way you can log into your work from home. And so the best way to secure that connection is to use a program like Duo, which is two-form authentication. We at Act Computers can install that on your server or your workstation at work for a super nominal fee per user. And what
would that be a VPN?
No, it's just it's even more simple than that. It's two-form authentication because what it does is, how you log into your Google, your Gmail from a different computer and your phone goes off. Hey, is this you?
Yes.
And you got to hit the code, and then they'll let you log in. If you don't, it won't let you log in your Gmail. Same thing. I install something on your phone, on your computer. So when you establish that remote connection login, your phone pops up. It says, "Is this you?" You hit yes, it'll allow you to log in. You hit no, it'll disconnect. And if there's too many unapproved connections, it'll actually lock it down completely, so no one can get in at all. And and while we're on the topic too, give them a call, 239-283-1120 at computers. Because my whole purpose of that rant is, since everybody's working at home, some businesses, now that they have the remote desktops open, hackers can get in there. You're also opening up vulnerability for ransomware is at an all-time high right now. And if you don't have your data backed up online, whether it's through at computers or somebody else, you're putting all your data in great harm. Give us a call at 239-283-1120. We will set you up with online backup at 7 cents a gig per month. Can't get any cheaper than that. And if you can, we'll match it. What the hell? Why not? But it's just I forgot where I was going with all that. We said something that started to go down that road that led me into all of the computer stuff.
How we're battening down the hatches, how we're preparing ourselves for
Oh,
the
yeah.
situation
You're talking
coming
about
up.
cutting costs.
Cutting costs.
For those of you who follow my Digital 410 on YouTube, you know that I have recently, about 3 weeks ago, stopped drinking Starbucks coffee.
How's that withdrawal process going?
It's all right. And the reason I stopped drinking Starbucks coffee is they did their second price change this year. Now, to be fair to them, I do get an extra shot of espresso in my white grande mocha. So I get a triple white grande hot with an extra shot. For you layman's, that's a medium hot chocolate made with white chocolate with 3 shots of espresso in it. And that extra shot of espresso is expensive. But 2018, it was $5.89 a cup.
Okay.
Which was expensive.
Yes.
2020 rolls around, January, they raised it to $6.02 for that drink.
All right.
3 weeks ago, they raised it to $6.24.
So within the first quarter, they've raised the price twice.
Which means by the end of the year, that drink with the extra shot for a medium will be $7. And I got to think of, one, that's a lot of calories for someone who's trying to lose weight for these events I was doing. But 2, that's borderline on ugly American.
Mm-hmm.
When you're buying, you're paying $6.24 for a cup of coffee when the national minimum wage is $7.25 an hour. Now, granted, most places pay $9.50 starting, but the fact that it is $7.50 an hour means there's people out there making $7.50 an hour.
I worked an hour. That means I could afford a little more.
And you say, well, it's $6.24. You can afford it. I was drinking 2 a day. You want to do the math on that?
I've already done the math on that. I don't even spend that much a week on things.
That's $240 a month on Starbucks coffee. That's half my fucking car payment.
Yep.
And so after I did that math and I shook the cobwebs out, I'm like, holy shit, I'm wasting so much money on Starbucks coffee. So I cut it out.
The best thing to do is go through 1 month's worth of statements, especially if you use debit cards everywhere, and just see how much you put into at the gas station for bullshit like food and drinks and coffee and fast food. And before you know it, you've got a mortgage.
I was going to say, I know some of you fools at home laughing like, wow, that's insane. But I'm sure you guys who are stopping at the gas station every morning, you're getting a $2 soda, a $2 donut. You know, that adds up. And if you're doing it every single day, Monday through Friday, and if you work on Saturdays, I'm sure there's plenty of you guys out there who are spending the same inordinate, ridiculous amount of money on dumb shit each month. And
my wallet got thinner, but my belly got bigger.
Exactly. And that's kind of the thing I said. Not only will my bank account recover, but this kind of leads me into a topic that, now you're talking about, you know, some of the things you're cutting.
Yes.
Carrie and I were talking about this a while back. We know in the last 3 or 4 years, a lot of people are cutting the cord, right? They're getting rid of their cable because that'll save you $60. They're going with internet. But here's the thing. The way most internet companies work, you're paying like $200 a month or whatever for your internet and your TV. If you cut out the TV, you're still paying the most expensive portion, or if you cut out the internet, they basically flip-flop it. You're still paying the most, whichever way you cut it, they're still going to get the most amount of money. It's insane.
Yes.
But here's what's crazy. So people think, okay, I'm going to cut the cord. I'm going to get rid of Comcast. I don't watch TV or Cox, whatever. I'm not railing on Comcast. They're just my service provider. So I'm going to keep the internet, but I'm going to get rid of the TV. Okay, cool. Great. Well, now I'm bored. Yeah. Okay, so now I'm going to spend $19 a month on Netflix. Okay, cool. But I'm not going to stop there. Oh, no. Now I'm going to pay $120 a year so I can get Amazon Prime. Well, that makes sense because you're ordering stuff, and the Fire Stick, that's a bonus, so that's free. We won't count that. Yeah, but I really like that Star Wars yoga baby thingy, so now I need to order Disney Plus. Okay, that's another $13. My whole point is after you order 6 of these third-party services, you're already back to paying the $60 you're paying to the service provider in the first place. So my question is how much money are those who are really cutting the cord really saving after they sign up for the Disney Plus, all the 30 accoutrements? I mean, does that money build back up, or are you guys still saving cash?
There was actually a local station that did a story on this 2 years ago, and basically the result was it's going to cost about the same, if not more.
Yeah, it's like a net zero game.
So in reality, you're not cutting the cord. You're trading one cord in for a bunch of cheap cords.
Now, with that being said, if you truly find that you don't watch any of those stations on your cable television or your satellite, then all means take that money and put it towards services that you do find have better content. But if you're doing it under the hypothesis that you're doing it to save money, and then you're just spending that money elsewhere on different services, then you're playing yourself. But once again, if you truly don't find anything of entertainment value on there, but then by all means take that money and spend it elsewhere. But I just thought it was kind of interesting to hear people who claim they're doing it for the sake of saving money, but then they're buying all these third-party services.
Yeah, and that's just it. I think it's just the demographic, and this is probably a very old discussion, has shifted from whatever's available on TV to being able to choose what I want when I want it.
That's
instant gratification.
That's a very, very important thing, because I was thinking of instant gratification 15 minutes ago when you're talking about how people need to chill out who are wondering where this stuff is. Why aren't we coming up with this stuff now? How come we don't have manufacturing hasn't picked up the bring? Because we live in a society of all of us are now used to instant gratification. A majority of us are used to ordering something online and having it within 48 hours at the latest. Now, we want to watch a movie. It's available to us in 35 seconds. We want to buy a video game. It's available in 8.5 hours because it's for you guys downloading Call of Duty, knock it off. You're sucking up all the bandwidth. But with the exception of video game downloads.
Wait a second. I'm downloading it right now, and I think mine's pretty good.
With the exception of video game downloads, we're so used to having instant gratification that especially these young cats who, you and I and the people of our generation, those who, graduated high school before 2005, we remember a life when you had to wait for things.
Oh my God, did we ever have to wait? Sometimes we just had to wait to leave the house we were in.
Remember when you refused to buy things off the internet because you didn't want to wait 2 weeks to get it?
I'd rather go down to the store and get it and take it home now.
Yes, it was worth the $30 extra to have it now.
But what's interesting is now you go online, it's like, it's just as expensive, if not more, online. And I can't touch it and see the tactile, how it feels in my hand, which is important to me. Because, I always have an expectation of, hey, I'm going to order this thing online, and it may come to me and it just feel like it's made of the cheapest material in the world. And I don't want that.
Yeah, and one of the easiest way to tell is through weight.
Yes.
Whether it's a mouse, a camera, a pair of jeans. I just noticed this. I think I counted because I wear jeans more than I do shorts. And because I go to the outlet store and I get Wranglers for $12 and I get Levi's for $25,
Vanity Fair, buddy. That's where we go.
I think I'm currently sitting on 18 pairs of jeans.
You hoarder. You're hoarding jeans.
Well, 3 pairs of my Fat Boy jeans are 36s. I'm keeping them just in case the weight comes back. You know what I mean?
Your quarantine weight pops up a little.
Well, lifestyle changes. Sometimes we revert back to our old ways, and maybe one day when I blow up my knee or my back and I can't run 57 miles in a month like I'm currently at now, and my weight comes back,
drinking 2 liters of Mountain Dew a day.
I'm going to need my 36s and 38s back. Well, actually, I gave all my 38s to a friend of mine who replaced me on a radio show, but I still kept a couple pairs of 36s. But I was folding my jeans because As the anti-gun CEO of Levi Strauss once suggested, you shouldn't wash your jeans because that's what causes them to dry rot. Obviously, if you're out working in a ditch or you're hunting or you're a mechanic, wash your jeans. But if you're going sitting in a cubicle all day, coming home and sitting on a couch, give them a fits with Febreze or your favorite cologne, let them air out and put them back in your closet because they're not dirty.
So I don't buy that anymore. And the reason I don't buy that anymore is I usually throw out pants because I'm just tired of them or they got a hole in them somewhere. And they don't dry rot. I wash them as much as I can. I once a week. And actually, my big thing is I blow out belt loops. I'll go to hitch up my drawers and yank on one. So I don't think that's caused by washing. Now, back in the day when Levi Strauss was around, that made sense. But today,
well,
whatever. And
also more and more people are getting washing machines without agitators in them.
Exactly.
And that saves a lot of wear and tear. But there are a lot of people who, I got one now, so maybe I can start washing my jeans. But anyhow, the point is I was folding my jeans, and I realized, and you might, it's your $12 Wranglers versus, no, I have Levi's too. They're using so many different types of denim now. I have one pair of Levi's that weighs like 5 pounds and I have one pair of Levi's that weighs like nothing.
Wait a second. This is the same model number. And they feel completely different. This one's got a stretchy waistband. This one doesn't. But they're still 507s or 509s or.
And this one weighs 3 pounds. And that's why when you weigh yourself, you do it buck naked. Because if you do it in your clothes, everything weighs different. But I don't know. I just thought it was weird that the denim itself had different weights, even from the same manufacturer.
Yeah. And, if you look at it, because I actually did some work in the Levi Strauss electrical work, I noticed. And then I went to their store and I noticed even though they're the same model numbers, it depends on the country of origin.
That's interesting.
To me, at least that's my hypothesis. My theory is depending on the country of origin they come from, they must use different materials and have slightly different manufacturing needs, which brings the problem of it brings the consistency of that whole product line to shit. Nothing is consistent. It's, as we like to say around here, consistently inconsistent, right?
Well, and not to mention that obviously in certain countries you have a lower gross domestic product. I mean, as far as our economy goes, and so their people's cost of living, their living wage is half of what we make, or the exchange rate is so I get it when you have to make your product from a lesser material so that the people in other countries with whose money doesn't equate the same as ours, you can't expect someone to spend their monthly rent on a pair of jeans. So you got to make it from a subpar product so it's more affordable to the people in that demographic. But I don't know. It's just weird that
I'll take it a step further. I'll have the same model of jeans, both Levi's, bought from different places, and they fit differently.
Oh,
in
absolutely.
The waist and in the legs. These aren't skinny because I ain't going to order skinny jeans. You ain't getting this fat ass in skinny jeans. And by the way, you just look silly. Everybody looks like they're a top that's about to fall over. They just fit completely different. And I'm talking inches difference,
Yeah.
But it's like, come on, you guys need to tighten it up.
Literally
get a little better at your stuff, especially you're charging as much when you charge full freight for this, let's make it consistent. Bring it home.
No, I just had another thought. I lost it. I was trying to get to with all of this, but I just lost the thought. But yeah. Wear and tear. We were talking about the reason I don't wear shirts and ties earlier is because I roll around on people's grounds. One of the things I noticed, not so much now because I do, more people use laptops now than desktops. But one of the things I didn't even consider, like that computer's been around since 2004. So since then, early on, for like the first 10 or 12 years, I've noticed all my jeans, the right leg from the knee to the pocket, would get dry rot out, and they would all have holes there.
Is that the leg you lay on when you're on the ground? You kneel to?
Nope. And I would notice that all of my Dickie button-up work shirts, the left shoulder and collar would get frayed and torn up.
Is it the vehicle that you're driving?
Both. The shirts would get torn up because the seatbelt. I would put my seatbelt off and on so many times, and these shirts would last like 5 years, that I would actually have holes worn in the shoulders of my shirts from the seatbelt.
Okay.
And the dry rot and the wear and tear in the pant leg is from carrying people's computers. I prop it up with that leg when I'm opening my car door or my work door, that the rough edges of their computer cases would start wearing holes, and it was always the top right leg. And I finally realized that was what it was from. It was from always when I'm carrying people's computers out underneath my right arm, and I prop it up on my leg to open the front door, my office door, the car door, what have you, having computers sliding up and down that right leg. That's what was causing all of them to dry rot out.
So it sounds like you may have run around for a while thinking, what the hell? What is going on here?
Why is the right pant leg and all my jeans have holes in it? And then one day I was standing at a door with a computer. I was like, oh, that's why.
You caught your reflection, didn't you?
No, I looked down and saw a computer sitting on top of my holy jeans. I'm like, oh, that's why.
Woo! I know something now. Oh, damn. That's nuts. Yeah. It's weird how things will... You'll be questioning why things are happening, and all of a sudden it just hits you. And then you just feel like a jackass, for not realizing it earlier.
I thought, well, maybe I should send a letter to Dickie suggesting that they make their shoulders out of a thicker material, but then they would probably reply, well, we don't expect people to wear our same work shirt for 8 years. Buy a new one, you cheap fuck.
Pretty much. I mean, how much is a Dickie shirt? Like $15?
They're 20 bucks. They're 20 before you have the embroidery done on them.
That's another 20, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Not too bad. $40.
I had a thought the other day. Internet trolls.
Oh my God, the world's abound with them. Awash, as it were.
Now, we can all agree that most internet trolls probably live in the basement of their parents, or at least that's the view we like to give them.
Or some dark bedroom in their parents' house.
I want to go one step further.
Okay. I'm listening.
Rural areas and countries. These aren't, granted, there are people who, but I would say statistically, if there was a way to track the world's most renowned trolls, a lot of these cats are living in like podunk towns or even countries that are out in the middle of fucking nowhere. They ain't got a whole lot going on in town. They can't go, there's not a whole lot going on in their life. And I'm just wondering if a majority of these cats live in like super small towns that aren't got shit going on. Now, it explain part of the reason why they spend so much time online, with the exception of the fact that we're all addicted to technology.
I can see that. Maybe they're in their parents' basement in small town USA that is gripped by heroin addiction.
No,
I could see that.
Heroin
By the way, let's talk about heroin addiction. This is going to pivot me right into Life PD. So I really wish Life PD did not go on a 2-week hiatus right now. I think I even mentioned it last week. I think it would be a good way to kind of judge what's actually happening on the streets, and seeing if things are falling apart or not. I do know in Las Vegas that domestic violence calls have gone up quite a bit.
Sadly, I was actually talking to a sheriff at the Skyline the other day. Mm-hmm. And I said, hey, the good news is your accident calls are going down, but I bet you're getting a lot more domestic violence calls. And he thought about it for a second and said, yeah, it's going to get pretty crazy. But not only, and the reason for that is you have a lot of people who don't care for their spouses too much, but usually they don't have to see them too often because they're working or sleeping, and now they're stuck around them all the time. But I did read, well, that's a lie. I saw a headline for a scary stat on Facebook today that suggests that child abuse is going to go up due to this for the same reason.
Yeah, and I'm going to take it further than just, people not standing each other. It's the added stress of bills and no work, no money coming in. What's the future hold for us all? Are we going to go back to the Great Depression or even worse? Is this going to knock our dicks back into the Middle Ages? I have no idea. But, all that stress together. I know last week I was feeling pretty tight in my chest, and I did go ahead and I had some labored breathing. So I'm like, let me take my temperature. That's good. I think it was actually stress. I started hitting the treadmill again, and that quickly went away. And trying to change my outlook on things. And I think that's what we need to do is, as stressful as times are right now, we need to try to look for the silver lining in this crappy storm cloud and grasp on anything positive that we can in order to keep our sanities and keep our families together, at least in a functional sense, and not everybody scared and holed up in other rooms of the house,
Absolutely.
So yeah, and that's what I'm doing is, as we were even talking earlier, maybe some good will come out of this. Maybe people will actually be more social. Maybe people will be closer to their families. People will get outside more.
It's interesting
It's
you
gonna be
say
interesting.
that because I've lived in Florida since 2004, and I've lived in a lot of houses. I've rented houses. I own one, but I've lived in a lot of houses. And we've talked about how down here, because of school choice, the concept of community is broken up because the kids in the neighborhood don't go to the same school. They go like 4 to 5 different schools, and so that means the parents aren't the parents at the same school, the kids, and so they're not meeting each other at after school events or parent-teacher associations, and so there's no sense of community. The only time I ever talk to my neighbors down here, with the exception of the guy on the right-hand side of me, is whenever there's a hurricane and the power's out for 4 or 5 days. Then the whole neighborhood gets together and you meet people that you have never met because you're all looking out for each other. You're want to know who's supposed to be in there and who's not. Make sure that no one's coming around the loop. And so, that is the silver lining to stuff like this, is that, when we're all put in a tough spot, we're more than the likelihood of actually meeting your neighbors just to get a sense of security going on. It goes up.
Yeah. And the other thing I am actually a little concerned with is people who are still working. If other people who are struggling are going to start casing them, because
not even people are
human
struggling,
nature
people
is
who just like to take advantage of people.
Yeah, to take advantage of people. So, anybody got any stories of what's going on in their neck of the woods? I'd like to hear from Ohio.
Yeah, right.
And I
They're
think Don
flooding
would too. Give a call, 239-232-4419.
Not only are the people of Ohio dealing with quarantining and the coronavirus, parts of our old neighborhood, Columbus and West Side and all around Columbus, I don't know if they got heavy rain or what, but a lot of them, like the last 4 or 5 days, people are talking about their basements are flooded. I'm seeing photos of people's neighborhoods that they can't drive down the street. So not only were they, self-quarantined by the state, but now Mother Nature just came and get them kicked in the nuts, so that if you weren't already needing to rush out to the grocery store, couldn't get to the grocery store, now they're really stuck because of all the bad weather.
And how do you think apocalypse fever may be rising? Oh my God, Las Vegas had a plague of grasshoppers last year. Now we got this virus. You got earthquakes in Salt Lake City, earthquakes in Carson City,
flooding in Ohio,
mass flooding in Ohio.
You got cicadas in South Africa right now eating up all the crops. Oh, I'm sure there's some cult members and some hardcore
mixing up that Kool-Aid right about now,
mm-hmm. Huh? Oh, it. Especially after the earthquakes, like 3 of them happened last week.
Exactly, yeah. And 2 of them were one to the northwest, one to the northeast of us.
Why is Life PD on hiatus?
They were away for 2 weeks, and then they're coming back.
I was going to say,
so
because
it was a
hypothetically they don't have cameramen, so who knows? And the cops are already working anyhow.
They do have cameramen, unless they just do the Life PD cam only. But again, I think that would be good. I don't know, that'll ramp up the anxiety. I ain't figured that one out yet. It would be good to just get a heartbeat, a touch of what's going on actually on the street level. The last episode I saw, which was last week before everything escalated tenfold, I sat down with Katina, said, here's the 2 things we're going to hear tonight. She goes, what's that? I'm saying, am I on Live PD? Are you with Live PD? And coronavirus. And we were not disappointed at all. Sure. And one guy was like, I've got coronavirus, I've got it, and was yelling that and this and that. And I'm like, oh my God. I mean, he was obviously drunk and loaded up on something, but I'm just like, ugh.
Well, that's the other thing I'm wondering too. We're talking about silver linings, trying to find a positive of all this, and this next subject, depending on your views on this topic, may not be a silver lining if it goes the way Gordon and I hope it goes. There's a lot of anti-gun people
buying guns
who are finding themselves in a position where they wish they had a firearm for their safety, because
and they can't get them in a timely fashion. As I've heard people
say, we're discovering right now that when it comes to situations like this, and I know I'm not comparing this to hurricanes, but as someone who goes to similar issues as far as city shutdowns and people freaking the fuck out, I go through it once a year, which is hurricanes. You realize that when you're in situations like this, the only person who's going to protect your family in a moment's notice is you. The cops are going to take 5-10 minutes to get there. In a situation like this, even longer. In a super crazy situation where things really go to shit, you may not get a response time. And so, this is the time where people need to realize you're your first line of defense, And people are kind of realizing that now, even people who never thought that people should have firearms. And as Gordon said, well, if you guys didn't have them, I wouldn't need them either, but now I'm going to need them. Yeah, but you're learning now you can't get them because you got to wait 10 days.
And all the criminals that already have them and procure them illegally.
Yep, and that's waiting 10 days if you're lucky enough to find a store that still has some firearms on the shelf that don't cost $2,000. Yeah, you can walk in your gun store and get an ACR or a SCAR or a high-end AR-15 for a couple of grand. But
that Gucci Glock.
If you're like
that's
a
all
normal person who can't afford that, you're wanting like a Saturday night special for $150. You're looking for a High Point, God forbid, or
a Taurus,
or a used Glock or a used Springfield, something that ranges between $250 to $500. You're not going to find that on the shelves.
You are not. I did pick up a new firearm about 3 weeks ago, just kind of when the first wave hit, just seeing how people were acting with toilet paper. I was like, you know what? I was planning on doing this for my birthday. We're going to move it up a little bit. And I am glad I did.
Mickey Mouse roll call. Morgan Long checking in. Jacob checking in. John Kraft just joined us. He's OG5. Hope you got your OG5 sticker, John. I think I mailed it out to you the other day. You know, it's interesting when we do those mail outs because I can see, I'm actually mailing them to other states, which is fun. And
mine. Got a whole pack of them.
The camera wasn't on. You go ahead and open that back. Show that back up for those. Yep.
You could tell they are cut by hand, so this is definitely a labor of love.
Oh, these are works of art. And if you want a free OG5 sticker, it's not free, you're going to charge me $1 a month. Yes, I'm going to charge you $1 a month. Head over to d-410.com, click on that beautiful orange Patreon link, and sign up for Patreon. The cheapest tier is $1 a month. And hey, you want to talk about helping small business in a time of need, this is the time to do it. You want to help this small business, please go to patreon.com, sign up for $1 a month. If you want to pay more, there's other plans there, but I'm not going to beat everybody to the head. I'd be happy with the $1 a month. Head over to d-410.com. Click on that Patreon link. Become a patron. You will get free stuff in the mail. Not to mention free access, free exclusive content, exclusive post. I actually posted one about a concerning Facebook post that I saw someone I went to school with post, but I didn't want to talk about it on here and embarrass them. So if you want to hear me talk about shit about people I went to school with, go on to Patreon if you're an OG5 member and see the post I posted yesterday. Just to give you a quick hint, this particular person commented that they regret the fact that they don't live in China right now because they weren't appreciative of how their state's government's handling this whole thing.
What?
Yeah. If you want to read my in-depth analysis of that post, head over to d-410.com, click on the Patreon link, and you can see my rebuttal to that reply with the screenshot so you can see the whole statement. That's $1 a month. Please help us out.
Sounds like broken brain syndrome.
Yep. And if you guys, we haven't talked about the t-shirts in a long time. Head over to d-410.com. You can find t-shirts like my Fail to Fail podcast shirt that I'm wearing right now. You can find Waterman D-Train Show. What's the Scuttlebutt? Digital 410. I got a shirt that's probably super offensive right now in the times we're at, so I won't talk about that one. We got all kinds of things on there, so head on over and get that out. Hey, Gordon, are you ready to do the news?
We can do the news.
I kind of feel like this whole episode was news because a lot of Corona talk.
Yeah, things are going to be a little structured differently because of what's going on.
Joining us now from the Digital 410 West News Desk in Las Vegas, Nevada, Gordon Abernathy.
Hey, Gordon, how you doing tonight?
Well, as we know, we're doing pretty good. But so I've dug and I've dug and I've dug and trying to find something that's not coronavirus related. I think I found a couple. First one's going to be a Florida man story.
Well, Florida man's sitting this one out, so I don't know what you're talking about. I mean, I don't know what's going on with Florida man, but he ain't going to the beach. He ain't going nowhere else. He's sitting this shit out.
But he was jailed twice in 2 days for impersonating a cop.
Oh, yeah, what else are you supposed to do? If I can go down to the police auction and get myself an X-Cruiser, and then I can go down to the military surplus store and get myself a look-alike uniform, why can't I impersonate a law enforcement officer? I ask you that. Well,
out of Bunnell, Florida, where I have no idea where this is at. I'm sure it's a backwater somewhere. A Florida man is back in jail for impersonating a law enforcement officer just 2 days after he was arrested for the same exact charge, according to sheriff's officials. Leroy Stottlemyre, 60, 60 years old, and he's imitating that he's a cop. He's 60. I think he may be about aged out. Sorry to sound that way.
This is southeast of the Palm Coast. This is over on the other coast.
Yep. Well, he was arrested on March 11th after investigators got a tip from a toll bridge attendant.
He's in between Daytona Beach and St. Augustine.
Yep. This toll bridge attendant showed them a video of a man flashing a law enforcement badge twice on March 11th to avoid paying a $2 toll.
To be fair to me, that was my concealed carry permit badge. In case I ever got a drawdown on a perp, I just pull that bad boy out so when the real law enforcement come, they don't shoot my ass instead.
Yep.
So but I mean, if I can't dress up like a law enforcement officer, how do you suppose I get some free phone numbers and hook up on some coffee? Did you know most places don't charge law enforcement people for coffee and donuts? Do you expect me on a fixed income to buy coffee and donuts?
And that $2 toll.
Oh, don't even get me started on a $2 toll.
So much.
Well, to be fair to him, if he was in Orlando, I'd be all for it because out in Orlando on Route fucking 410, there's a toll booth every 2.5 miles. So if you go 20 miles, you're like $40 into it. So I can understand if he's pulling that shit there.
Wow, talking about bilking people for money. And I bet the road still sucks, too. So the toll booth attendant told investigators that Stoudemire flashed the silver badge at him, which I always thought law enforcement was a different color.
Like I said, sir, that was my concealed carry permit badge.
It's my 10. And he in turn showed the man an article about his arrest for impersonating an officer. He said Stoudemire then put away the badge and paid the toll. So he got called out.
Don't we have a politician with the last name of Stoudemire? Or was there some famous? Who was Stoudemire? They were on the news a couple years ago, weren't they?
Stoudemire? I don't know. That's a good question. It may be your news, not my news. But Sheriff Rick Staley said Stoudemire was arrested March 9th on charges for impersonating an officer and shoplifting. Let's add that to the picture. And March 11th, he was charged with felony violation of pretrial release and impersonating an officer.
You know, the cops are being nice to him on that one.
Well,
one can make the argument if you shoplift during a state of emergency, you could easily get arrested for looting, which I'm sure has a steeper penalty to it than a shoplift.
Yeah.
I mean, technically.
Makes sense.
I mean, what's the difference between looting and shoplifting other than the store's closed when you're doing it?
Pretty much. But at this point, he is being held without bond. So this guy has clearly not learned his lesson and has no respect for the law, according to Sheriff Rick Staley, or almost looks like Sty. 2 days after his release, he was already up to his old tricks. We know already that he thinks he's going to get out of the shoplifting and paying tolls with a fake badge. So therefore, they don't list the jail records don't list any lawyer for Stoudemire. I'm imagining he will have a public defender post haste.
He's an asshole, sir.
Now we're going to go to Gallup, New Mexico.
Okay. What are we doing there?
Well, evidently this New Mexican man got real drunk.
As they
and evidently he stole TVs and he doesn't remember. He unknowingly stole these TVs whilst drunk.
You try and tell me you never blacked out and done some heavy lifting?
No, I've never. Lifting my ass up off the couch was enough heavy lifting.
You never
for me.
blacked out, done some minor breaking and entering, relocation of some fine high-end electronics?
Never was a blackout drunk, sir. Never. Don't believe it, do you?
We call them fellas pussies where I'm from.
Yeah. This New Mexican man is facing charges after he told police he unknowingly stole two televisions while drunk. Not one, but two.
Drunk yourself to the point where you've woken up face down in a ditch.
I've known some people that way.
Naked on the floor of your next door neighbor's child's room. Maybe you could have stolen some TVs. If you ain't never lived life like that, you, sir, are a punk-ass bitch.
I've known some people who would commonly pass out in snowbanks in Big Sky, Montana.
And I feel sorry for your kin.
Yep. Gallup Independent reports that Sage Aaron Cummins was arrested last week shortly following his arrival to the victim's apartment to
Everybody knows a real man drives a power stroke. Cummins pussies.
Yes, so he tried to return these televisions to the victim's apartment. And according to Gallup police, the officer investigating the burglary reported that when Cummins approached him and admitted that he'd stolen said televisions from the victim's house, Cummins told the police that he was very intoxicated when he entered the residence. A police report says Cummins said that he only remembers knocking on the door, and when it was apparent that no one was home, the residence.
Now, I'm not
Cummins
a lawyer or
said,
nothing, but I think if you're caught returning the TVs to the scene of the crime, that's going to affect your blackout drunk routine. Because the whole thing of saying you're blackout drunk means you weren't aware of where you're at or what you're doing, but somehow you remembered where you got the TVs from to return them.
Yeah, I see some holes being shot in this story for sure. Like Swiss cheese.
You ever walked in the wrong apartment?
Never.
Really?
Have you?
Yeah.
I have walked in the wrong bathroom before, though.
No, because a lot of these obviously a lot of these apartments look the same. I remember I first back in 2003 when I first came down here, I was dating a girl. She lived in an apartment. It was like my second or third time over there. Right floor, right unit, wrong building. Straight up walked up in that motherfucker, walked in the room, and his cat's sitting on his couch looking at me. I'm like, whoops, my bad. Turn around and left.
What's his name from Seinfeld? Did you do that total entry? It was the wrong place.
No, luckily I didn't pull a Kramer. But yeah, I was like, sorry, my bad.
Well, fuck.
Oh, fuck.
So, yeah, he woke up at 8:30 a.m. the next day and noticed that he had two TVs in his room, according to the cops. Cummins was informed 2 days later that who the televisions belonged to by a mutual friend of his and the victim. Cummins told police, he said, you wanted to make things right and return the stolen items. I borrowed it. I didn't steal it. I just borrowed it.
Do you think he paused for a moment and said, his TV's nicer than mine. Maybe I'll give him the shittier one. Why should I give back the quality TV when I can give him this one? Same size. Wonder if he'll notice.
Moving on to Encinitas, California.
Here's a little fun game for your kids waiting at home. Something we used to do in Rickenbacker Air Force Base. Your kids probably do it at your house, but they can do it on the communal level. Did you know that most cable boxes, remote controls are universal? So there's nothing more fun in a time like this when people are freaking out, high in anxiety, watching the news. Give your kid a controller and usher him on outside. Tell him to go change some channels on people's TVs by peeking through the window. That's what we used to do.
Mama, they all cut the cord.
That's all great fun, like during Super Bowl or whatnot. Someone's really into it, and you click, click, turn the TV off or change the channel. So there's some fun quarantining fun for you. Go out and social distance yourself from your family by going around the neighborhood and changing the channel on your neighbor's televisions. They'll thank you for it.
Yes, they will. So we're going to continuing our trek from east to west across the United States. We are going to land in Encinitas, California. So a gentleman that was disturbed by empty store shelves and reports of hoarding during the coronavirus crisis, a man stood on a California street corner and held up a homemade cardboard sign with one simple request: share your toilet paper.
No, fuck you.
Johnny Blue, sounds like a fake name, told the San Diego Union Tribune on Sunday that the response to his impromptu toilet paper exchange in Encinitas, California, was immediate and positive, which is amazing to me because I met people from California. They've moved here. Drivers honked their horns in support and stopped the drop-off rolls of toilet paper that I'm sure they just got done fighting over to get just as quickly as Blue would hand rolls to those in need. Blue, who is a physical therapist, said his plans to be out on the corner again Sunday to encourage people to be better amid the global pandemic. Blue gave a few to grateful motorists who came up empty in several stores.
I did see a news report of a cat who owned a company. He had like for some reason a whole warehouse of toilet paper. I don't know if he was like it was a Porta John joint or whatever, but he was like putting 10 to a bag and basically selling for $5 a bag, which is about retail price. So he was selling them 50 cents a roll. He just putting 10 in the bag, stand out, and people just come through, and he wasn't gouging or anything. He just had a whole basically getting his cost back, and there you go, toilet paper for you.
You know what I was thinking? So construction's still a go here in Las Vegas and Nevada, and you have those little porta shaders everywhere. That's usually got a lot of toilet paper in them.
Yeah, but they don't.
Toilet paper in them. How long do they last?
Now they're G-O-N-E gone. I actually was walking around an antique store last week before this thing got super crazy. And I'm in there enough that the owners know me, and they were telling me that all their toilet paper had walked off from their bathrooms at the antique store. So people were actually
just walked out the door and said, "I'm fucking out of here, man."
People were walking in and stealing toilet paper.
Have we ever experienced that in our lives? Anyway.
I think that was called an acquisition, sir. We weren't stealing.
My ass needed it.
Let's just say this.
My ass literally needed it.
Let's just say we know why there are locks on toilet paper dispensers in city parks. We'll just leave it there. It's particularly in the city of Clearwater, Florida. But go ahead.
Yes. So he was like, "Don't you want me to pay you?" So this guy asked him to pay him for that toilet paper. He said, "No, man. Somebody gave it to me. Take it." So the 33-year-old told the newspaper he was making a sign after a friend had a difficult time finding diapers and essentials for his kids. And I really think this is actually awesome that this guy's out there doing this. This is a silver lining and showing some good humanity instead of the bad humanity, because unfortunately human nature can be quite shitty at times.
I see what you did there. You punny guy.
Yeah. I like that in alliteration. So we're going to jump from California back to Florida. However, this is a Florida story that ends up in Michigan. Here's a dog that ended up missing from Florida. He's been missing for more than 2 months and had been found 1,400 miles away in the great state of, not so great state. Yeah, great state of Michigan. Chris Gibson discovered her dog Simba last week standing on her fence in Mount Morris Township, north of Flint.
Well, for starters, everybody knows that Simba is a fucking lion, you moron.
So she discovered that this dog Simba was standing there. She lured him with snacks and took him to an animal clinic, which confirmed the dog's identity through a microchip. You ever microchip your animals?
Yep.
Fantastic. I've got a microchipped cat that never leaves the house. So,
well, when you got a Bengal cat that retails at an inordinate amount of cost and who wants to go outside, yeah, we chipped him early.
Oh, okay. Usually when I find dogs, so evidently this lady finds dogs all the time, they never ever have a chip, and I was pretty shocked, according to Gibson. And her assistant, a veterinary assistant at the Mayfair Animal Hospital. They believe the dog, which is a Canary Mastiff, I think it's got to be huge, might have been abducted with the intent of selling him.
That's an oxymoron. You're going to name a huge-ass dog after a small-ass bird?
Simba was a lion.
Yeah, but you're saying Canary Mastiff.
I have a feeling it's yellow. I haven't looked up Canary Mastiff, but you're more than welcome to.
It's a fucking yellow dog.
So where Simba hails from is Miami, Florida. And these are $1,000 dogs. In all pure breeds, $1,000 dogs these days.
That goes to show you. You know what color Canary Mastiff is? Fucking black, fella.
Oh, fuck. Well, I guess I am wrong. Is it from the Canary Islands?
I'm trying to find. Actually, canary is the bastardized English word because it's Perro de Preso Canario. It's actually everything comes up on this dogs in Spanish. So, yeah, I think.
Is it a large dog?
Yeah, it's a goddamn mastiff.
There we go. So anyway, according to Gruno, these are $1,000 dogs. The cheapest one around here is about $1,800. And Gibson is making arrangements to return Simba to Florida. So there is a good ending to that story. Somebody's very pricey and much loved pooch was gaffled, sent up to the far north, the Great White North almost, and it will now be returning back to Florida.
Take off, hoser.
The McKenzie brothers. Take off, eh?
Take off, hoser. But yeah, no, it's a big brown and black dog.
Big old dog.
Yep.
So on the news front, that is all I have.
And that's all we should need. It's been such a long weekend and week.
And then we got another one coming up with more uncertainty on the horizon.
How many of you fellas at home are getting hit with a big honey-do list? You're here. Can't leave. House needs worked on. Got some stuff for you to do. To be honest,
Well,
I don't
did.
have a honey-do list. I have a thing I've been trying to get to for a long time, which is my goddamn garage is a catastrophe. So Nugget and I, we got that cleaned up today, so it's looking fine.
Damn it, baby! You don't have to remind me every 6 months.
Well, my next one is I think I'm going to build risers. Is it me or is the horizon rising? I'm going to build risers for my washer and dryer.
Be careful.
Oh, I'm going to put plenty of supports underneath it. Trust me.
Be careful. Are these front load or are they top load?
Both.
So just to let you know, we have some front load washers. We had actually bought the very pricey pedestals.
Uh-huh.
And they really rocked and wobbled. It was a pain in the ass. We ended up getting rid of them.
Really?
I think you're going to go out in the desert and get shot up, to be quite honest. Yeah, it was. It ended up not working out well. Now, again, so our laundry room is on the second floor. And apparently, second floors are not really suited well to front load washers.
Well, our problem is just the front load dryer, and the fact you almost got to get in fucking commando position to get the shit out of it. It's just sucks.
Yeah, I got a little stool I sit on like an idiot, and I go from one to the other. And my house wasn't even set up properly because anymore the washer's on the left, the dryer's on the right when they're front load, so the doors can open out.
I don't even mind that so much because I quickly unload it. What bothers me is that the thing sits so low that if you put the close basket down first, you can't open the door.
This is true.
So you have to open the door first. All your shit falls on the floor, and then you put your clothes basket down. And when your cat box is 2 feet to the right of said dryer, and you have 4 cats, it means there's kitty litter on the floor, which means your nice clean socks don't have kitty litter on it. That's where we're at.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. We've discovered after getting rid of carpet upstairs how much litter actually ends up on the floor.
It's insane.
It is insane. But the upshot is my allergies have gotten a ton better because of it. Because that's all that stuff's not buried in the carpet and worked its way down to the subfloor and just, getting thrown in the air. Anyway, I think.
And now, anyway, that's the way I heard it. You ever heard that podcast, The Way I Heard It by Mike Rowe?
I have not listened to it, no.
It's fantastic. If you guys look for a new podcast, listen to The Way I Heard It by Mike Rowe. It's very reminiscent of a Now You Know the Rest of the Story.
Oh, Paul Harvey?
Yeah, but these are only 10-minute long podcasts, or actually 8 after you take out the 2 minutes of advertising at the beginning. And he'll tell you stories of people you already know without knowing you know them until he reveals who the subject is at the end. And then he says, anyway, that's the way I heard it.
Fantastic.
Gordon, where can people find you?
I can be found at Gordon at D410 on Facebook, Gordon Abernathy on Twitter. I think I just effed that up. And then Aegis1974 on Instagram.
As always, you can go to d-410.com, and we have links to everybody's social media pages on there. Thank you guys so much. Stay clean and stay healthy. Stay alive, and don't be mean to your kids now that you're trapped in the house with them. And we want to hear from you. Give us an email at info@wt. Wow, too many podcasts on. info@d-410.com. If you want to talk World War II, send me an email at info@wtsp.worldwar2.com. We'll talk about that. Or leave us a voicemail at 239-232-4419. Don't worry, that is the correct phone number. That is 239-232-4419. And thank you guys so much for joining us for another week. And I hope things are going well for you. And remember, usually I say if you don't get out of your comfort zone, you'll never get out of bed. But right now we're all quarantined, and the bed's the best place to be. So stay in bed, play Xbox, And find us on Modern Warfare Warzone. Call of Duty Warzone. I don't even know what the hell it's called. Anyhow, thank you guys so much. And we will talk to you next week. And stay safe out there.
This has been a Digital 410